right? And that leads us to student avatar. Shay.
Yeah, I mentioned before that I think a lot of people have done this exercise, especially when it comes to even just coming up with their ideal customer profile. But obviously, I still think it's worth it to go through the entire process with this here. Partly because I mean I know my brain writes differently when I'm picturing a specific person with a name. Like it's Alex, the 42-year-old marketing consultant, versus mid-career professionals or something. So, if he's across from me venting about his frustrations, I'm going to write differently to speak to him. So, we think about the basic demographics. This is on the worksheet. Like I said, it's just part of the process, but their goals and desires, what do they actually want, challenges and pain points, what's holding them back, and online behavior and learning preferences, which is huge. Where do they hang out? Like I said, I had made a whole bunch of videos and wasted a huge amount of time on that piece of it. And I also wasted a lot of time because I decided that tradesmen, for some reason, wanted to do digital marketing more so than anything else. Like because they don't have social media profiles and because they're not using paid ads for the most part around here, I assumed that that's what they wanted to learn more about. And I was very wrong, actually. It turned out that they wanted to be on, like the neighborhood boards and things like that, because that's really where they got a lot of their business and from referrals. So seems obvious now, but and buying habits and objections, what makes them hesitate? I think that's let me just see what I wanted to say about the I wrote something down about LinkedIn search filters or oh yeah, use LinkedIn search filters or Census Bureau quick facts. I don't know if you know more about that, Neil, but to gather real world demographic insights if you're struggling with specifics. I don't know if you know anything about those, but that's in my notes. Hmm.
What tool were you talking about, Shay? I was answering a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, LinkedIn profiles. I don't use LinkedIn as much as I should either. Um, yeah, LinkedIn profiles and then LinkedIn search filters and the Census Bureau. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that that necessarily applies to a lot of the industries that we kind of serve or that are on the call, but
Yeah, I'm as far as the Census Bureau, I don't think I've ever used um that data set. Um,
go backwards.
but certainly LinkedIn profiles, um, I'm not sure if it's available for the free or the no subscription, I guess subscribers. But the pro version, I think that's $9 a month, something like that. Um, will give you a lot more insight on who you're looking for and where they are, very specific, specific groups. I think um, if you're looking for I guess, a B2B solution, right? I think LinkedIn profiles would be a great tool. A B2C would be more, I guess, focused on career development and things like that. If you're going into like a LinkedIn marketing strategy. So if your product is going to be about, again, kind of um, career development and things like that, new paths, new career paths. I think that would be great. Or a B2B, basically how to grow your business, how to expand, how to diversify, things like that. I think, again, those would be very, uh, uh, LinkedIn profiles would be a very good tool to use if your topics fall in those categories or realms.
Flying here. And I just wanted to jump back to this because I was thinking a lot about this when I was creating all of this, and I took a lot of time for it in the other lesson video I made about objections and what makes them hesitate. because I think a lot of people have already signed up for maybe a similar course and they didn't get anything out of it, and I think that stops a lot of people from going through with it or feeling kind of burned by it. And I think that that history is going to shape how they look at your offer, and what are their objections? Is it the price? Is it the time that it takes to do it? Um, or maybe it's just fear that they don't have enough time, enough time to finish it themselves and that they're not going to get any results. So I just think that that's a huge thing that we should think about, because then we can preemptively sort of address those in not just the marketing, but also in how we create it. So
Right. Right. So when you're creating your avatar, right? I think it's very good. I think I started to mention this, to be very specific on who you want, right? Gender, age, um, income bracket, um, location, right? Situation, right? Do we want single moms? Do we want, um, you know, um, couples, or do we, what do we want? Again, their marital status, right? Should they have kids? Should they not? Does it matter? Right? And I think a lot of people would think it doesn't matter, but it actually kind of does, right? Because if people are going to spend time with you, you want them to be able to justify the time in which they're going to spend it if you're competing with family, job, and so forth and so on, right? When you're looking, I guess, at, let's just say, maybe pre-retirement or post-retirement, like services or programs, right? I would say there's a lot more. They're looking for things to fill their time, right? Or whether it's, you know what, hey, it's a young entrepreneur, right? That worked really hard, and now they have availed themselves some free time, right? And they want to invest it in something, right? That's, so it's, I think it's very important to define that early on, right? And verify it using your tools like Google Trends, LinkedIn profiles, and things like that. Um, I think it's also really good when you create your campaigns to create feedback loops. I think we do this all the time, with surveys. Just one question surveys, two question surveys, even within your ads, if you're going to place ads, it's great to have, to have an offer and then use a survey to start engagement, right? Um, is this a product or a service that I can, um, I guess I can make a decision on buying, right? So I think that's, and where am I when I'm making that decision? So I think that's very key too, right? So if I am on social media and I'm just scrolling, right? How can you help me make a decision to click, not to buy, to click, right? When you're in let's just say in a course like this, or in a class where you've gotten them to click and you've gotten them to sign up with something, right? They're in a different space. They're not scrolling, they're not browsing, they're consuming your content, right? So that's you can walk them through that decision of taking the next step, right? First, it's the click and the engagement. The next step, you might want their email address, right? Or, you know what, hey, here's a challenge for you, and how how am I delivering that challenge? Sign up. So they'd have to create a user account, right? Or they have to give you their cell phone. Those are little decisions that we have to help them make and have to understand how they're making that decision and when, right? You could be handing out a flyer at a beach, right? Are they ready to make that decision in the middle of, their beach day? Maybe not, right? So have to understand where you're advertising and where they are, not just physically, but mentally, and how are they making these decisions? I think that's very key to get them to move to engage and get them to your next step. Um, you know, I guess I don't know how many of you are familiar with, I guess, your funnels or creating a funnel, right? And getting them to move down the funnel, right? Each phase is a win, right? You have them on the top of your funnel, and you're just getting to click or engage on in an ad, click into an email or open an email, right? So how you can measure your marketing success by how many opens you get on an email, or how many views, or that's the very top. The next is a click, right? How many clicks did I get? So views and clicks. If you look at those, and I'm getting a little technical here, but I think it's really important why we're discussing the importance of an avatar, and things like that, and how you can measure what you're trying to accomplish, right? Your next step in your funnel from your click, right? They clicked on it, they wanted to learn more. They get to your landing page. They're reading your, I guess, for all intents and purposes, a sales page, right? And what do you want them to do? You want them to put their email address. You want them to book an appointment, right? And you want them to commit a time. You want them to sign up for a course, right? So, little steps are usually the most successful ways to get people to take, I guess, to get into programs, right? You can't sell a $25,000 program with an ad on Instagram. It's never going to happen. No one's in that mind frame, and no one's going to put a credit card number in to pay $25,000 for a program. It just doesn't happen, right? So if we're, let's not depend on that. It's steps, and I think a lot of the programs that are successfully sold are either sold in person in a class like this, right? Whether it's 20, 30, 50, 100, 150 in a class, we're creating a relationship right now, right? And we're getting to know each other. We're establishing, I guess, our credibility, our expertise, and you are making a decision as to should I move forward with this person, with this group, with this program, right? And these a live cl a class enables you to do that, enables you to create that relationship to move forward, right? And again, going back to tying this right back to the avatar, right? It's very hard to speak to many different people, right? All at once because you can't, it's hard to relate. We invite coaches here, mostly coaches and speakers, because uh, they face similar struggles. They face similar objectives and goals, right? And now we can speak to those struggles, those objectives, and those goals, right? And if we didn't do that, if we didn't define that ahead of time, we would have a hodgepodge of listeners, of folks here that wouldn't be able to relate to the content we're presenting, if that makes sense, right? That again, kind of bring it way back to the avatar. We wanted, you want to make sure you're speaking to the audience, to them, to a single person, and cater it to that person. Now you can have different funnels and different entryways into the same program, you can have different audiences, different um, age ranges, different, again, just complete different demographics, needs, but you have to bring them together, right? And so you filter out the ones that really, I guess, the problems that you can't solve with the program, right? Or are not willing to solve with the program, right? And bring them together so that at the end they all realize this is the problem that we have, right? And when they can identify that, you create community, and I think you have much more of a chance to move them forward as a group. And let's say on the business side, continue to engage and create those relationships so that you can, after the course, have an opportunity to make another offer and another offer and another offer, right? Otherwise, how many of you have gotten a client and it felt like so much work for this one client? Right? You're trying to convince them this is a good thing for you, man, right? Like you just have to listen to me. And you just have to slow down, pay attention, things like that, right? And it took so much, they took up 70% of your energy, right? In a group of 50, and the one person is just kind of, right? You kind of know that person wasn't supposed to kind of be there, right? And chances are there are distinct differences between the rest of the group and that person, right? And that's also something to pay attention to. Not that you don't want their money, right? But that person just let's just say took your energy away from serving your 50 other people that signed up for your program, if that makes sense, right? So have to be very clear, and it's and succinct and deliberate about who you're serving, and knowing, I guess, why, right?
I'm just writing down avoid high maintenance people. So Um, Neil, I was just thinking, I mean, we'd love to see people's completed worksheets, anybody from Thursday, if they fill them out, or if you guys fill them out in the next couple of days, because we have the office hours on Thursday, from 3 to 4. So if we got the opportunity to take a look at what everybody is thinking for their topic description and their avatar, it'd be great to come to that, and we could, speak directly to it and kind of brainstorm together and hone it down.
Sure. And if anyone's ready today with I guess their topics and things like they that you'd want to talk about, we're absolutely open to doing that now. Just kind of get a little preview of what we will do on Thursday.
I see Elizabeth, you have your hand raised. Do I have to unmute you? I'm not good at Zoom.
Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
sorry. I was bringing up my worksheet so I could have a look at it. Thank you. Yeah, so I haven't quite completed everything, but I got a little stumped on the using the Google Trends, so that's why I asked that question. So can always go back to it. But I had an idea for a lead magnet, which would be a 4-week program, very affordable program that people could buy into. And let me just bring this up. Okay. And so I'm focusing on leaders, whether those are entrepreneurs or within corporate. And my focus is really on what I call conscious leadership, but I don't really use that word because it doesn't seem to resonate, but it's more on self-leadership and inside out. So developing from sort of personal development. So one of the things that I have done some work on before, and it seems to be trending. You can confirm this, or I can when we do the Google thing. But it's the whole issue of building trust with your employees and using that to develop greater levels of engagement, um, produce better performance, a sense of well-being, that sort of thing, right? And so, because my background is in both NLP and positive intelligence, it takes a form of, kind of understanding what's happening in your mind, in your brain, and then using different methodologies like like emotional intelligence tools to create psychological safety, to help develop rapport, and so forth. So that's the general thing. And so I have four topics, potentially possibilities. None of them are pain focused, but you did say that the campaign could be pain focused and the topic, more positively framed. And so the first one was the trust advantage, unlocking leadership credibility in challenging times. It's kind of a bit long. And these were generated mainly by ChatGPT. I'll just say that up front.
Hmm.
The second was character-driven leadership. I didn't like that one so much. Building respect, influence, and results. That second half is kind of nice. Third, from authority to authenticity, redefining leadership in the Caribbean workplace. So I'm in Jamaica, so it was an idea to kind of focus it demographically. And four, trust by design, how leaders create cultures of confidence and accountability. So,
Yeah. Yeah, great topic. So, what are some of the things people are experiencing when they have a lack of trust with their
hmm.
employees?
Disengagement, I would say, employees who really they're there in body but not in spirit. They're not
Hmm.
sufficiently motivated to really come to work and pull their full weight. So
Hmm.
they're somewhat detached. So I think that would be one.
Right.
And of course, that leads to underperformance, sort of doing the
Right.
bare minimum, not really, as I said, not really achieving anything more than they have to.
Right.
So that I think that would be a big issue. Issues sometimes of communication.
Right. So I think a good idea for that might be something like managing an underperforming team. Try these
Uh-huh.
three things,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
Or finding a lack of engagement with your team, something like that. Or, um, why does my team not perform well? Right. So,
Hmm.
so I think those are typical questions or queries that people would be asking, right?
Hmm.
And that you would want to answer.
Okay.
So your campaign would be that, and your short video, your short, like, basically your landing page would lead them to, try these three things, right? And this is the reason why your team is underperforming, right?
Hmm.
Because they're lacking, yeah, they're lacking trust, they're lacking, things like that. Right. And these three things are going to be the ones that are going to allow you to take the next steps to build that trust with your team. Right. Um, so again, kind of pain points, right? Missed your bonus because your team's not performing, right? Right. So
Yeah, that's a big one.
you kind of have to get to those, to those pain points, right? I think another good question is who is going to pay for this program, right?
Yeah.
If they are mid-level managers or they're C-level, like, C-suite executives, right? I guess, who's going to make the buying decision? Is the company going to pay for this program? Are they the the decision makers, right? Do they have the budget, right?
Hmm.
So if a company, if you're going after a company, you want to go after the decision makers, right, who have the budget,
Right.
right? And so what are, um, I guess, what are some of the I guess the struggles that that particular person, you know, w what are they facing? What struggles are they facing, right? Are they facing a high turnover in their employees? Right? What is the
Hmm.
cost of training new employees, right? How many workers' comp cases that have they had, or did they have
Hmm.
attendance problems? All,
Yeah.
I guess, all kind of telltale signs of, I guess, a team that is lacking enthusiasm, trust, and buy-in and things like that. So
Hmm.
identifying those pain points for that decision maker, I think, is key, right?
Hmm.
Because you can talk, I guess one mistake would be, I guess talking on a C-suite level, right, to solve a mid-level manager problem,
Hmm.
right? Why is that a mistake? The C-suite man, the C-suite executive is making a decision and signing their mid-level managers up into a program that they're not bought into. They
Yes.
don't think they have a problem,
Hmm.
right? But the
Yeah.
executive thinks they have a big
Yes.
problem,
Yeah.
right?
That's often the case. I mean, you just
They're
pin that one.
right.
Yeah.
So how do you get into the, I guess, how do you get them together, right? How do you talk to
Mm.
the mid-level manager, talk to their problems, and find solutions so that they can either, I guess, collaborate with and say, I have a
Hmm.
great idea. This is my team. This is my problem. And these are my solutions. I'm going to need this much to solve my problem. And I think if I do this, I'm going to increase productivity by blah, 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 right? And coaching them through that conversation so that they can help sell that, I think is key, right? You know, so maybe part of your program would be that. If you're going after mid-level managers, you have to make sure
Yeah.
that obviously one, if they already have the budget, great. They're the decision maker. They don't have to get it I
Hmm.
guess approved, right? They're approving it themselves. Wonderful. If not, if you're finding that these are the things that I guess, right, the challenges as the objections, right? You're answering those objections already, right?
Yeah.
And knowing that, right? Creating a funnel that has all those in the design is going to have a much more um,
Mm.
successful conversion
Yeah.
rate, right? Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of mid-level managers that either have to make a decision, am I going to pay for this myself? Because I want to
Hmm.
invest in myself, right?
Hmm.
And if I'm making, low six figures, do I have, I guess, do I have the room in my budget for that, right?
Right.
Or if I'm a mid-level manager in, a large corporation, a Google or things like that, and I'm getting
Hmm.
$250,000 a year, I'm gonna have room for a $5,000 course, right? Or I
Yeah.
should have room for a $5,000 course. Invest in myself, and because I have a chance to get a $20,000 bonus at the end of the year, right? If I
Hmm.
just invest the 5,000. So again, kind of if you've helped your audience identify and justify, the cost of your program, it's already a win. I know we're
Hmm.
1 minute over. I'm sorry, but
Yeah. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah.
all right. Closing thoughts, the I guess, a B2B program, whether it's train the trainers, teaching coaches, things like that, traditionally has have had higher conversion rates and higher value programs. Why? Because it's much easier to justify the cost of a $100,000 program if you're promising them, or if they see the vision of them
Mhm.
making seven figures, right? So kind of on that note, we will continue on Thursday, and it'll be more
Mhm.
of a Q&A and things like that. So, we'll have no agenda on Thursday. So just bring your worksheets, bring your ideas, bring your questions, and we'll answer. And Elizabeth will go through. Actually, there is one thing on the agenda. We'll do Google Trends, and
Nice.
we'll throw in a bunch of things in there, as far as demographic and things like that.
Yeah, we'll see how it
Region.
works.
Yeah, exactly.
And
All
Neil, if
right.
I could just jump in, I love it if everybody could, if they want to, share what they came up with for the worksheets and send them over. I put my email address in. It's skane@directpaying.com, just in case you want us to brainstorm before so we can come to the meeting knowing what you're looking at.
Okay,
That would be
All
good.
right.
very good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll hope
Mm.
to see you on Thursday.